Today we're digging into a really powerful strategic idea. It's this: the environment you operate in, the terrain, is way more important than the opponent you're facing.
You've probably asked yourself this, right? It's so frustrating. You've got the brains, you've got the drive, you've got what feels like a perfect plan, and then, bam, you hit a wall. So what gives? What's the missing piece of the puzzle?
Well, here's where we often go wrong. We're trained from day one to focus all our energy on the competition, the rival, the obvious obstacle right in front of us. But the real fight, the one that actually decides whether you win or lose, is the fight against the ground itself.
And this isn't some new age productivity hack. Sun Tzu was saying this thousands of years ago. The stakes are just incredibly high. If you don't understand the strategic landscape you're moving through, you've lost before you've even made your first move.
So that brings us to this core idea. Terrain is fate. And when we say terrain, we're not just talking about hills and rivers. We're talking about the whole strategic landscape of whatever you're doing. It could be the dynamics of your market, the politics inside your company, or even just the unspoken rules of a negotiation. This environment, this ground, is what dictates every possible move you can make.
Now, this isn't just an abstract theory. Let's look at how some of the greatest minds in history used this very principle to pull off the impossible.
First up, Hannibal. Everyone knows the story, right? He took war elephants over the Alps to attack Rome. But what was really going on there? He wasn't just launching a surprise attack. He was fundamentally changing the entire battlefield.
And here's the absolute genius of it. Crossing the Alps wasn't just a gutsy move. It was a masterclass in terrain selection. He dragged the entire war away from a predictable front and dropped it right into Rome's vulnerable psychological backyard. And later, at the Battle of Cannae, he used the shape of the land, the battlefield geometry, to encircle and completely crush a Roman army that was way bigger than his. He literally made the ground his most powerful weapon. So, let's bring this home. Think about what you're working on right now. Is there a bold move you could make? Your own personal Alps crossing that would completely shift the fight onto ground where your unique skills and strengths give you an almost unfair advantage?
Okay, next up, let's talk about Napoleon. He took this idea of terrain and expanded it. For him, the battle didn't start on the battlefield, it started on the road to get there.
You see, Napoleon was an absolute master of logistics. He understood that controlling the terrain of supply routes, of river crossings, of food depots, that gave him freedom of movement. And that freedom let him control the tempo, the speed of the entire war. He could get his army where it needed to be faster and in better shape than anyone else. He was winning battles weeks before a single shot was fired.
So what's your logistical terrain? Your roads and bridges aren't made of stone. They're your internal processes, your key allies, maybe the software APIs your project depends on. And here's the critical question. What's your single point of failure? What's the one bridge that, if it collapsed, would bring your whole initiative to a grinding halt?
Now let's see how this ancient military principle applies today. We're going to rocket forward from Napoleonic Europe to the digital age and look at a modern titan, Amazon. Their choice of battlefield was something completely new. Think about it. Amazon didn't just decide to build a better bookstore. They chose to fight on a completely new type of terrain, the cloud. And this digital ground had these incredible, almost magical properties. It offered massive economies of scale, and it created these compounding advantages, these moats. The more data they collected, the smarter their systems got, making it nearly impossible for anyone else to ever catch up. They didn't just sell a product, they claimed an entire strategic landscape.
This brings us to a huge question for anyone working today. Where is the high ground in your field? What area offers those compounding benefits, where every bit of effort you put in doesn't just add, it multiplies your advantage over time?
Okay, so we've seen the why, we've looked at the legends, now how do you actually do this? Let's get practical and break down a simple framework you can use to start mapping your own arena. Here's a super simple 4-step way to create your first battle map. Step 1, just define your arena. What are the clear boundaries of this project? Step 2, mark the key features. Find your high ground, those are your leverage points, and your choke points, those critical dependencies that could stop you cold. Step 3, find the center of gravity. What's the one person or system or idea that has the most influence? And finally, step 4, boil it all down into one simple sentence that states your intent.
And look, this isn't just for planning military campaigns, right? You can apply this everywhere. Launching a new product, your high ground might be getting featured in a key partner's marketplace. Studying for an exam,
The center is that one core concept that unlocks all the other questions. Even in a negotiation, the terrain, like who chooses the meeting room, can completely change the power dynamic.
And that brings us to the final challenge here. The focus shifts entirely to you. It's not about being reactive. It's about making a deliberate choice about where you are going to fight.
I mean, just look at the difference. On one side, you've got the path most people take. It's a grind. You're fighting for every single inch on crowded, contested ground. But on the other side, you have the high ground path. That's where the terrain itself starts to work for you, creating those compounding advantages and forcing everyone else to react to what you do.
So I'm going to leave you with this one thought. The most important strategic decision you'll ever make isn't how you're going to fight, it's where. Remember, you don't fight enemies, you fight the ground. So what terrain will you claim?